I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to be able to speak to you. Maybe you could kick off with a brief introduction for people who don't know anything about The Quiet Girl. What can they expect if they watch your film?
Yeah, well, it's a heartwarming, I think, feature film. It's a period piece. It's set in the early 1980s in rural Ireland, and it's the story of a young 9-year-old girl from a dysfunctional, kind of broken household, overcrowded, and her mother is pregnant again with another child, and she gets sent away for the summer to live with distant relatives that she's never met before. And in this place, she kind of finds a new way of living with this older couple. But like in this place, which is, they tell her is a place that has no secrets, she discovers one painful truth over the course of that summer. So yeah, it's an emotional, character-driven piece, very much from the point of view of the young girl at its center, and yeah, it seems to be connecting with people, striking a chord with people.
For sure. And obviously you've done short films and documentaries before, but this was your feature debut. So why did you decide now is the right moment to sort of launch into that slightly different medium? And why did you decide that Claire Keegan's story would be the perfect thing to adapt for the big screen?
It wasn't really a very calculated thing. I mean, it was sort of, I read Claire's book. I say book, but it's actually like a long short story. You'd read it in like half an hour, and it just connected with me so profoundly that I just knew I could see it as a film. Like as I was reading it, it was like just taking shape in my mind as a film. And like all of my previous drama work at that point had been through the Irish language, and there was this new Irish language feature film scheme that had been launched in Ireland called Cine 4. And I just thought this would be an extraordinary project to try and, facilitate through this scheme. So it was kind of a question of like reading the right material at the right time, and this, when this like funding was available. And yeah, it was just a case of, I don't know. I mean, I guess I technically would have, part of me kind of thinks, oh, I'd love to be like 10 years younger and be at this point and like have my first feature or whatever. But then another part of me thinks, well, I don't think I would have made as good a film, or it would certainly be a different film. And yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just a slow learner in terms of getting to making features. But I did really enjoy my documentary work, and I took a lot from that. So it's all like the journey to this point has all been, yeah, it's all been very constructive. It's all, each project that I've worked on has given me something that stayed with me.
And tell us about your cast, because you've got such a wonderful cast, and not so much dialogue. I mean, in reflecting sort of what's there in the title, it's quite a quiet film, but there's so much sort of conveyed with that stripped back script. And in particular, of course, with Catherine Clinch, who I believe had never even been in front of a camera before. So just seems even more than phenomenal to see her performance. So how did you put this cast together?
Well, but Catherine was like kind of the primary consideration, like finding someone for that role, So it was a case of, this was like pre-pandemic, we started casting. So we were just holding open auditions. When you're looking for someone at that age, it's usually like an unknown that you're trying to find. It's not like someone that's going to be in an agency or whatever. So yeah, it was open auditions. Like we spent many weekends traveling down in the south of Ireland, where the film is set, because we were trying to find someone with the right kind of dialect for the type of Irish that's spoken in the film. And then ultimately, like COVID came along, so then we started putting out a call to all of the Irish language schools in Ireland. So you have like a whole network in Ireland of Irish language schools where everything is taught through Irish. So all of those kids will be Irish speakers. So we got like self-tapes in from all these schools, and this one tape came in Catherine Clinch, and it was just, you know, we just knew straight away. I mean, the producer Cleona, who's also my wife, like she rang me just going, Carl, like this, you need to see this girl, like she's just incredible. And it was, as soon as I saw it, like I was like, oh my God, this is our court, you know. She just had that extraordinary ability to, just that sort of ability to allow the camera to witness her, you know, and to never to over emote, or there was just a kind of an interiority to her performance, you know, that felt very believable, but that was also perfect for the character, you know, because this is a character who's like forced all of her emotions inside, you know, it's all, and the film is about the process of that kind of slowly opening up. So yeah, it was kind of miraculous. And it's that thing, it's like when you find the right actor for a role, it does feel like a kind of miraculous moment. It's kind of a beautiful thing. And then like for Sean and Eileen, the foster parents, I always had Carrie Crowley in mind, because I was familiar with her work, and I just thought she would be a great fit. And she also had read Foster, the Claire Keegan story, and loved it. And, you know, it's just, everything just felt really right about her role. And then for Sean, I actually didn't realize that Andrew Bennett, who plays Sean, I didn't realize he was an Irish speaker. So I hadn't even considered him to begin with until someone had mentioned it to me and sent me on some scenes from another like TV drama he had been in. And I was like, oh my God, okay. So I was delighted then, because like Andrew has that beautiful kind of softness in him anyway as a person. That was precisely what like the film kind of digs down into in Sean's character, you know, that he, in the beginning, he's kind of withdrawn or whatever, but that he needed to have that really believable sort of warmth and gentleness that kind of defines Sean as a man, as the film progresses, you know. So yeah, that was how we got the three leads.
And it feels like the way it's shot and the locations that you use also really integral to the storytelling. So not only kind of the house as a location, but also, you know, the beautiful scenery and this kind of veering from the mundane, you know, work on the farm, to, you know, almost transformed into something magical through the eyes of the little girl, you know, like when the biscuit appears on the table, or having a hot bath. And, you know, sometimes when she's looking at the water in the well, it feels like maybe you could sort of launch into a fairy tale or something. So how important was, you know, the locations and the way you shot the film?
Well, the locations are characters in the film, you know, they're as important almost as the humans, you know, particularly in the case of the Kinsella household. And we spent a long time, you know, trying to find the right place for that. And again, it was one of these kind of small miracles where we found this house where like a farmer who lives there alone, when his stepmother was the last surviving kind of adult in his life, I think. And when she was on her deathbed, she got him to promise that he wouldn't modernize the house. So all of that kind of beautiful period detail was extant, you know, it was all there. So you have that kitchen, which still has that feel of an Irish country kitchen from the 1950s. And then obviously we kind of added in details that would, you know, situate it a little bit more firmly than in, like, we're set in the 1980s, like early 80s. But that was really important to me, like that the locations would have that sense of history, because that's what you find, like if you went to an Irish farmhouse, it's not, you know, depending on what moment in history you land in terms of where you are when you're there, there's this whole other sort of lineage that's visible in the texture of the place. So that was really important for all of our locations, that would be there. And yeah, as you say, it was that thing of allowing or finding spaces that would allow for that sense of yeah, like almost like that fairy tale feel, or that we never kind of went as far as saying kind of fairy tale, but that there was particularly with the well, that there was a sense that this was there was something otherworldly about it slightly, or there was some sense of possibility to it that was different from just the more mundane, everyday locations in the film. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting you were talking about like how the sort of that depiction of the mundanity of things, like just the process was really important, because in a way, like that stuff becomes quite beautiful, because what it is in the context of the film, like say when she's with Eileen and they're doing their various chores or whatever, it's actually much more than what the physical act is, you know what I mean? It's actually an adult spending time with this child, you know, which is something that she hasn't had, you know. And it's that thing. It's like spending time with Cait is what is changing her. It's what's leading to her growth, emotionally and psychologically and even physically, because she's been fed properly, you know, in this house where she wasn't, you know, in her own home. So like sustenance is like a big part of the film. It's kind of a big theme of the film. It's like physical sustenance is obviously there. There's a big focus on the food and all of that, but it's the emotional sustenance that she receives in the Kinsella is like that, and that's the thing that stays with her and that changes her as a person.
And in that sense, what do you ultimately hope people will take away from it? Because, you know, on the one hand, it's a very specific story set in a very specific time and location, but it feels like there's also those universal themes of, you know, the importance of family and of being loved and of finding joy in the everyday, and how important those moments can be, especially to a young child. So what do you hope people take away from it?
Well, it's kind of precisely those things that you said, you know, it is that thing of, like, it's a film about love, you know, it's about familial love. It's about the love that we all need as children in order to grow, and that love that sustains us, you know. But then it's also a film about the fact that, you know, one's biological family is not necessarily where one is always going to find that love, you know, or that certainty about who they are or who they can become, you know. So yeah, I mean, I hope people come out of the film, and I hope they give a big hug to whoever that person is in their lives, you know, whether it is their own biological mother or father or whoever that person is, or those persons who nurtured them in that way and who allowed them to become the person that they became.
I think I'm out of time, but just very quickly, you know, what is the importance for you of having your film, you know, in the Irish language, and perhaps kind of having more representation of that and recognition? I know at the Irish Film Festival where it won Best Film. And then next up, you know, what do you think you'll be doing next? You're going to be doing another feature?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I'm an Irish speaker myself. I was raised like bilingually in Dublin, so like speaking Irish and English, and so Irish has been like a really important part of my life. So yeah, I feel enormously proud to have made an Irish language feature film that's managed to connect with audiences like beyond our shores. And you know, it's apparently it's the first Irish language film to have been acquired by a distributor in the UK and get a release there. So it feels like we're kind of breaking down some walls, I guess, for Irish language film. And so yeah, we're enormously proud of that. And yeah, like I certainly would love to continue working in features. You know, it's something that I've always aspired to do, and it's a real privilege to get to do it. But yeah, so we are working already with Screen Ireland on another feature film project. So hopefully that will come to be as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me, and can't wait for everyone else to get a chance to see The Quiet Girl when it releases in cinema soon. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Lovely to chat to you. Thank you. Bye.